let's get started with one of the important topics in AWS, which is basically the pillar foundation, and which is basically one of the most fundamental ingredients of AWS cloud platform. It is called Identity and Access Management, IAM. Okay, so we can get started with that. I'm going to give you maybe a brief, maybe a 15-20 minute presentation on what IAM is. Just give me a second. Let me pull up my screen. Just give me a minute. I'm just pulling the stuff up. Okay, so yeah, identity and access management. Okay, so yeah, but before that, let me just go to identity and access management. As usual, just Google for AWS IAM, and you will get all information with respect to the public documentation. Just go to resources. Under resources, open the IAM user guide, and it's going to take you to this page of IAM, right? Okay, so what is IAM? So we'll actually cover IAM today, and we'll spend about 40 minutes or so, and then I think we're going to shift to the other part of our agenda for today, where we will actually speak more about guidance around what sort of jobs you can find and what sort of opportunities you get for AWS in the industry, and how do you tap into those opportunities more importantly. And I'm also going to give you a roadmap of what is the curriculum for this training program looks like, right? And what have we covered so far, and how much are we left with? Okay, so all right, so let's get started. What is IAM? IAM stands for Identity and Access Management. What is identity? Can someone explain me what an identity is? Can someone explain what is an identity?
Information regarding a person or an entity.
It's a unique for individual user.
Okay, perfect.
And with identity.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so information about an individual, right? I mean, it's a unique identity. Correct. All of you have got an IDs here, right? And this, as part of this RPL training program, all of you have got an ID, which is unique to each other, right? So yeah. So basically, so what happens is in the information world, information security is very, very important, right? I mean, if everybody can access every other information, so then there is no boundaries to that, right? So information security is very, very important, and in fact, there is there's a full stream of practice which is there in the information security world. It's called cyber security. Cyber security is growing. It's growing at a very enormous pace these days. Okay, and cyber security is one of the key practices that is being adopted worldwide by enterprises, by product organizations, by every other organization. Okay, so that way, I mean, and cyber security is also a great career to pursue, right? If any of you are interested in cyber security, so then obviously there are few areas where you'll have to really look more in with respect to understanding the fundamentals of how to protect information, how to protect systems, how to protect data, right? And what does confidentiality means, what does integrity means, and things like that. Okay. Anyways, keeping that aside, let's come back to our AWS. In AWS, one of the most vital and important ways to protect the resources on the cloud, right? Imagine, yeah, I mean, remember, when I told you last time, what is the customer's responsibility? What is your responsibility? What is AWS's responsibility, right? So I'm just going to pull up our slide. Yeah. So what is the shared services model? What is AWS responsible for, and what is customer responsible for, right? So AWS is responsible for the security of the cloud, whereas customer is responsible for the security in the cloud, such as the client-side data, encryption and integrity, authentication, server-side encryption, right? And maintaining the identity. Authentication means you're maintaining the identity, and you're basically giving only necessary privileges to those who want to access the data, correct? So that is very, very important, right? So that's where IAM forms a very, very great fundamental ingredient, and that's the pillar. Without IAM, I don't think AWS platform would exist. Okay, so IAM is a web service that helps you securely control access to AWS resources. You use IAM to control who's authenticated and authorized has permissions to use, right? So in fact, it's called authentication and authorization. Okay, it's called triple A. Okay, usually you will come across this triple A many times. Okay, AAA. So authentication, the first A stands for authentication, where you first get authorized, authenticated, right? I mean, whether you are even allowed to enter the system or not, correct? And then once you enter the system, are you allowed to perform a certain function or not? That is called authorization. Okay, permissions. Okay, whether you have the identity to even enter the system, that is called authentication. Once you enter the system, there are several functions that the system offers. So now, are you even allowed to execute or perform a certain function is authorization. Okay, these are two key things. And the third A belongs to audit: authentication, authorization, and audit. Okay, so now IAM provides both authentication and authorization to use the AWS resources. Okay, when you first create an AWS account, you begin with a single sign-in identity that has complete access to all AWS services and resources in the account. This identity is called the AWS root account, root user, and is accessed by signing in with the email address and password that you used to create the account. We strongly recommend that you do not use the root user for your everyday tasks, even the administrative ones. Instead, adhere to the best practice of using the root. Then securely lock away the root user credentials and use them to perform only a few account and service management tasks. Okay, let's just rewind a bit. Go back to 3 weeks, right? So when we all set up our AWS accounts, you had used your username password, which is the email ID and password, right? So that email ID and password is the root account. Okay, so now as per the best practice, you're not supposed to use your root account because root account is quite secure. It has to be maintained quite secure, and root account has to be used only on an extreme scenario. Okay, because root has everything. Root has invincible power. Okay, if I were to put it, okay, root has everything, all the access that can be done within the account. It can create catastrophe within your AWS account if the root user or the root account is misused. Okay, so now anyways, I mean, we're going to basically see, what is then if I don't want to use root account, then what do I use, right? I'm going to get to that, but before that, let me just get to, okay, so what we are going to see as part of IAM is we're going to talk about these 3 or 4 areas. Goals of this is learn the AWS identity and access management, understand when and where to use IAM, right? And there's something called federation options, which is available also within IAM. We are going to look at that, and also look at how the policy uh, looks like within an IAM, where you say that where you create a policy that says so-and-so user or so-and-so principal is allowed to access only so-and-so resources. Okay, so now what happens behind the scenes, right, is as a user, you are interacting with the AWS Management Console, and the AWS Management Console is nothing but the one that you're seeing, the web page that you're seeing, right? The website AWS where you sign in and you perform all the actions. That is called AWS Management Console. There are three ways in which, as I said earlier, there are three ways in which you can interact with the AWS platform. One is through the management console. Second is through the command line interface. And third is the SDK. We're going to look at the command line interface and SDK shortly down the line. So far, you have been very well versed with AWS using the AWS management console. But behind the scenes, what happens is when you go talk to the AWS management console, there are a bunch of APIs. APIs are called application programming interfaces. A lot of you, or most of you, must be aware of it. And most of you must have already built a few APIs. So now behind the scenes, there are a bunch of APIs that are responsible to actually perform that action behind the scenes with the AWS platform. Okay, this is just an interface, right? Like for example, stopping an instance. There is an API to stop an instance. Okay, getting an S3 object, snapshot a database, create a VPC route. Okay, you all have created a VPC route in the route table, right? So all of that translates into an API call. That API call goes and actually performs the functions. Now, all these APIs are signed. Okay, they're all signed and they're very secure APIs. Okay, nobody can basically intercept the API and change the token within the API and then basically morph the API to perform something which is which is destructive in nature. Okay, that is all possible, right? Because in APIs, especially when the API call goes from source to destination, somebody could intercept that API and somebody could basically change the properties of the data that is being passed, request that is being sent to the API, and they could actually go ahead and cause destruction. Probably a spy bot or probably a what do you call malware or a virus which is sitting in your computer can actually do that, is capable of doing that. But in order to avoid all of that, there's something called SIG-v4 is a method of signing APIs that is being used, and that basically protects the APIs from any changes that can potentially happen to the API. So now AWS SIG-v4 is a process to add authentication information to AWS requests, right? So now every API call, I mean, at the end of the day, whether you use management console or command line interface or SDK, everything translates into an API call. Okay, as I said. So now that API call is protected using a technique called signature v4. Okay, so now at the end of the day, in order for you to invoke the API directly through an SDK or through a command line or indirectly through the management console, right? Indirectly means when I log into the management console, when I stop an instance, as a user, because I've logged in as a root user or any other user, as a user, when I click on stop the instance, it actually takes the authentication information from my session because I'm already logged in. Okay, it takes the authentication from my session. So that's where if you see AWS SIG-v4 is a process to add authentication information to AWS requests. The AWS SDKs or CLI tools will construct, sign, and send requests for you with the access keys you provide. If you are constructing AWS API request yourself, you will have to include code to sign the request. We are going to see this in a while, but eventually you have to pass the authentication information to the request so that the request gets authenticated, and AWS knows that, okay, indeed, you are the one who is performing this operation and you are a legitimate user who is trying to perform an operation using the API, okay, either through the console or the CLI or SDK. So you can read more about this. So there used to be an older version of the signature called signature version 2, but that's now gone, that's deprecated. AWS has made signature v4 as the de facto for making API calls, any API calls for that matter. Okay, so now as a user, you come in, you give your credentials. Okay, either you log in using the console, right, where you provide your email ID or username. For many of you, have created a username and password and have given it to you, right? You're not using an email ID, but most of you are using your email IDs, which is the root account. Always remember, When you use email IDs, it belongs to the root account. You should never use the root account. You should use a different type of user that I'm going to tell you, and you're all going to create that user today. Okay, so or you pass the access key or secret key if it is an API or a CLI, and then that makes a SIG-v4 API call to the respective resource, EC2, S3, databases, VPCs, or KMS, or whatever it is. Okay, what are the concepts? Now, remember this very, very clearly, right? At the end of the day, everything translates into an API call. And the API call needs authentication information. That authentication information comes from username, password, okay, or a token which is given. Remember that very clearly. So now let's go to IAM concepts, right? So what is an account? Account is a logical entity which centrally controls all the resources, right? So which actually has all the resources in one place. You have your account, your any resource that you provision, it belongs to you within your account. Okay, that way, every other entity that you create is mapped to your account, right? So today you provision an EC2 instance, that EC2 instance is mapped to your account. You create a security group, that security group is mapped to your account. You create a VPC, that VPC belongs to your account, correct? So that way, you create a key, right? You create a key pair, EC2 key pair using which you log in. That belongs to your account. It does not belong to other account, and it is protected by the root user credentials. Root account has got unrestricted and unrestrictable. Nobody can restrict access to root account. As I said, root is God. It has the God power. Okay, so now it's your responsibility to protect your root account to the extent possible, and don't let your root account go loose, because there are hackers waiting on the internet, waiting to exploit your email ID and guess the password, and they can go ahead and log into your AWS account and use it for any illegitimate activities or illegitimate transactions, and eventually you become responsible for that. Okay, so that's why it's very, very important you protect your root user credentials, not just the root account credentials. You have to protect your account, right? So in fact, this session is to how do you protect your account, because tomorrow when you go attend interviews, you may be asked, tell me, how do you log into your AWS account? Is it the best practice to log in using root account, and in what condition, what situations you log into root account, right? So you should be able to answer all of this. You should be able to say that no, you should never use root account. You should create IAM users and give restricted permissions to the IAM users to just perform only the set of activities that the user needs to perform, because root account is God. Okay, it can the root account can do anything within your account. Okay, and again, AWS accounts, multiple accounts are there. You can create multiple accounts like the way I've created for many of you. You can have a strong separation of duties. You can consolidate billing into a single account, and you can plan your account strategy in advance, right? So for example, I'm starting a new business, right? I'm setting up a company and I need IT resources. I go to AWS. I first create one account called master account, and under that master account I can create so many child accounts, and each of these child accounts I'm going to give it to one department. Sales takes one account, marketing takes another account, finance takes one account, okay, so like that, technology takes one account. So like that, I'm giving one account to each department to deploy their applications on top of it. Okay, but all of these are linked to my master account. Any bill that comes to those child accounts will basically consolidate at the into a single account, and so that way, I can control, as a CEO of the organization or as the founder of the organization, I can control the consolidated billing through a single account. So now there's something called ARN. Okay, all of you should be aware of this. Every resource in Amazon is uniquely identified using this ARN. It's called Amazon resource name. Every resource that you take a EC2 instance, you take a IAM user, you take a DynamoDB, you take a key, you take a security group, everything is uniquely identified globally using this Amazon resource name. So what is what is the notation of the ARN, right? Because you need to understand this very clearly, because when you write IAM policies, right, you have to use this ARN as part of your IAM policies, so that you get familiarized with the notation of this, right? It starts like this always: ARN colon AWS colon. So this is a static thing. This doesn't change. Anything which is blue, that doesn't change. Only the red changes. Then services, which services that is it EC2 or RDS or S3. Then region is US East one, EU West one, or AP South one. Or if you leave it blank, if you don't fill anything in place of service, it means that all the objects in the bucket or all the regions. All the regions, basically this one, yeah, fourth one. Then next after that, the fifth one is account. Okay, account is which account should have access to that. Okay, so you have to give the account ID belongs to your account. Okay, every account has got a unique account ID, like how you have an account ID in bank, right? Account number in bank. So this is the account number. So you have to mention that account number, and the idea of mentioning the account number there is you're basically restricting access only to that particular account. Then finally you have resource. The resource is your instance ID, right? I mean, when you created an EC2 instance, you had some set of characters, correct? Some set of random characters. That's called the resource name. So now all of this put together, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These 6 things put together is called ARN, and this is unique across every resource globally. Okay, this cannot be common, because this will never be common, because your account is unique, your resource is also unique, right? The resource IDs that are generated are all unique across global. Okay, now imagine there are like probably billions of objects that AWS has, right? Billions of resources that AWS has. Okay, so now this will be unique across every resource. If I provision an EC2 instance, and if someone else who is sitting in, say, probably Belgium is provisioning an EC2 instance, my EC2 instance ARN and his EC2 instance ARN will be totally different, will be distinct. Okay, all right. So now that's basically the ARN concept. So we all know what is the concept of VPC, subnets, availability zones, right? CIDR ranges, IP table, route tables, and so on and so forth. Correct? All of us have seen this, and I'm sure you're all experts in this area right now, right? And how to represent, how to create a VPC, how to create a subnet, and how to basically represent the CIDR ranges within the subnet, and so on and so forth. And internet gateway, routing table, instance, EC2 instance, security group, NACLs. Okay, NACLs is at the overall subnet range, whereas security group is at the EC2 instance level. Okay, just that was a quick refresher on that. Then resources, right? So when I say resources are represented using the ARN, right? And that ARN, this is how at the end of the day, you know, what you do is you basically use a JSON format. What is a JSON? How many of you know what a JSON is? Can someone explain based on your knowledge what JSON means?
Which is a key value.
It is a key value, but what does JSON stands for?
I don't know.
Okay, anyone else?
JavaScript object notation.
JavaScript.
Okay, JavaScript object notation. Okay. Okay, so JavaScript object notation, maybe I'll just give you some links to that. You can read through the. Like how you have XML, right? Extensible markup language. Similarly, I mean, these days, you know, JavaScript object notation is very famous and very popular, and it's very useful as well. Okay, it's called JavaScript object notation. It's a lightweight format for storing and transporting data, and this is often used when data is sent from a server to a web page. It's actually self-describing, where you have, this is an example of your JSON where you it's a key value pair. I mean, whatever Z011 said is correct. It's a key value pair. At the end of the day, this is the key. It's overall it is embraced within like curly brackets. Then you have, this is the key which is within the double quotes, colon. then you provide the value for it. The value, again, if it's an array, then you put it in a square brackets, and then again you give the curly bracket to represent again a key value pair. Okay, so it's basically a name value key value pairs separated by commas, curly brackets, braces hold objects, square brackets hold arrays. Okay, that's it. Very simple, right? I mean, it's not a rocket science, and it's kind of quite straightforward, and it's quite powerful as well. I mean, APIs are, a lot of APIs these days use JSON. Okay, there's so much of support that is there for JSON by every programming language. Okay, parsers and things like that. So yeah, so that's fine. So let's get back to the thing. So now, if you see, the resource is actually represented as a JSON only. So you have a resource, and then you have the ARN of that resource, where you have ARN colon AWS colon, which is the service name, in this case S3 colon, after service name, what is the next one? Next one is region. In this case, region is left blank because it belongs to all the regions. Then colon, next is account. Account is also left blank. It means that all the accounts can access it. Colon, my corporate bucket / star. That is the actual resource name, where that's the S3 bucket name / star means all the objects within that S3 bucket. Okay, let's look at an EC2 instance, because you're all familiar with EC2 instance. You can ignore the first three. Resource ARN colon AWS colon EC2 colon US East 1 colon account number colon instance / star. Instance / star means you're giving access to all resources of instance type. Instance means EC2 instance, and / star means all the EC2 instances. So now these are all well-known, okay, resource types. Okay, so now anything that you give at the end of it, right, is basically a well-known, and you can't make any mistakes here. You can't say, you can't put a typo here. Instead of instance, you can't say instance. Okay, that's not going to, it's going to throw an error. So now what you see here is all, you can look up all of that in the policies, and you can look up all of that in public documentation of AWS. You have to be precise with respect to giving this. If you give a spelling mistake or if you have a typo, it will not work. Okay, so now if you see more concepts of how hierarchically resources are grouped. You have an AWS account. Okay, that's the main, okay, that's like the root. So then you have, if this is an inverted tree, right? The root is AWS account. So then there are several branches, like groups are there, right? Within like admins, developers, test, and so on and so forth. Groups are actually used to manage every user, and it is not necessary that you need to have groups. You can also have directly users mapped to your account. So you have a username for each user, like Brian, Nelly, Chris, Charles, and so on and so forth. And you can actually provide an optionally, can provide a password for console access, and you can provide policies to control the access. And also you can use access key to sign the API calls, and also you can have a multi-factor authentication. Okay, so these are all the features that is possible within IAM. In fact, we are going to see each one of this. You're all going to do some demos, and you're all going to do some practice assignment around this. Okay, so then comes roles. Okay, so now what is a role? Let me ask you in general. Okay, in our day-to-day lives, right? What is a role?
A role might be defined as the works which were given to us or associated with us.
Okay, good. So basically a role is something that you perform, correct? Yeah, you wear the hat of a student, you wear the hat of a employee, you wear the hat of a father, mother, right? So that way, a role is something that you perform, that it's a responsibility that you perform, correct? A role. It's called the role, because you're responsible to perform that specific role in a plain English and in a day-to-day life, right? Because I perform the role of, probably within in my work, I perform the role of probably an architect. So what am I supposed to do as an architect? So as a developer, what am I supposed to do? As a project manager, what am I supposed to do? Right? As a CIO, what am I supposed to do? As a CTO, what am I supposed to do? Okay. As a finance clerk, what am I supposed to do? Right? So like that, there are multiple roles, and roles are necessary thing because you have to play some role or the other, right? At any point in time, right? Even in you take your life, you have to play some role or the other at some point in time. So that way, even here, you can just apply that same concepts here. Roles are nothing but you can basically create a role within AWS, and you can say that this role can perform only so and so functions. You are only giving so and so access to that particular role. Then you are associating that role with the user. Okay, so that way, as a user, I log in, I'm associated with this role, right? I can only perform so and so functions within AWS. Okay, like imagine there are 5 people in an organization, 3 of them are developers. One person is basically the founder, the other person is finance. Okay, the founder, it's a startup company, let's assume. Okay, so the founder creates the account. The founder has full admin access, so he will take the admin role. Okay, and the 3 developers whom he has hired, he will create a role within his AWS account saying that developers can perform so and so actions. And then he will create 3 users for the developers, and he will associate that role called developer to these 3 developers. So when developers log in, they won't be able to go beyond a certain point, right? They won't be able to see how much is the billing, how much is the revenue coming, and so on and so forth. And finance guy would basically have access to not the technology areas. Finance guy would have access to how much bill is being generated, right? How much revenue is being generated, and so on and so forth, right? So that way you are basically segregating the responsibilities that each user can perform, and then you're assigning it. So like that, there are different services that within AWS you can basically restrict those services to those roles, right? And it's basically a trusted entity, and you're basically assigning a role to an IAM user or an application or AWS services like EC2, and you're saying that so and so entity can only perform so and so actions. Benefit is, you're not sharing any of the secrets, right? You're not, when I say secrets, you're not sharing username, passwords, left, right, center, right? Because using username, passwords gets very cumbersome over a period of time. Okay, if you're like say for managing say thousands of usernames and passwords, then it becomes very, very difficult. And control wise, you can revoke access anytime, right? So tomorrow you feel that you've given for this startup company, the 3 developers, you have given them some access. Okay, maybe a couple of developers are misusing it. Okay, they're probably using it for their personal use, or they're probably using it for something which is not related to the business, right? In such cases, as an admin, the CIO, the founder can immediately go revoke access to that particular role, developer role, so that they won't be able to do that action any longer. They can do other actions, but they won't be able to do that action anymore. And also you can give cross account. Okay, you can give cross account privileges using IAM role, where you are trusting another AWS account to perform some actions on your behalf. Okay, that is also possible, where this is your AWS account, you have got an IAM role, and you have various resources, and you have another account, AWS account, where you have IAM user in that on another account. You can create a trust policy between these 2 accounts. Like say, I'll extend the same example that I gave, right? I started a company with 5 people, including myself. So similarly, one of my friends have also started his own company with say similar set of 5 people, founder plus 3 developers plus 1 finance administrator, right? So now, my friend reached out to me saying that, I really want to understand how you guys are doing it. Can your developers help my developers? Then I'll tell him, okay, sure, why not? Happy to help you. So can you share your account ID, and can you share your IAM users for developers, right? And I need access to your resources so that my developers can access. So that way, you're basically having a permission policy and trust policy, so that you can log into another account using a IAM user. I mean, using an it's called assuming the role. You're assuming the role of the other account, and then you're basically logging into another account, and you have to use MFA. What is MFA? MFA is called multi-factor authentication. Okay, so now in fact you're all going to do one very important thing today at the end of it. What is that? All of you have a Android or a iPhone, right? I mean, all of you have a smartphone, correct? Most of you. So what I want all of you to do is, all of you have got a Google account. Anyone doesn't have a Google account? If not, please create one. Okay, if you don't have a Google account, please create one. I want all of you to install a app in your mobile called Authenticator, Google Authenticator. Okay. Google Authenticator. Okay, go to Play Store or go to App Store if you're and you will see that icon like this. It's called Google Authenticator. Okay, I want all of you to in parallel, or later, maybe after some time, install Google Authenticator, because I'm going to tell you how to protect your root account right now, right away, before the session ends for today. Okay, that's where, it's called multi-factor authentication. It's where nobody can, hack into your account, or nobody will be able to perform any bad things to your account. If you have multi-factor authentication, that's one of the best practices. Okay, so now I was actually talking about the roles, right? I mean, okay, in this part, I'm just going to skip for now. Okay, so roles again, right? I mean, when you create roles in IAM, it is not that, you assign roles only to human users. You can also assign a role to an EC2 instance. Okay, if you have an EC2 instance and your EC2 instance is actually interacting with your other AWS services, such as it's reading data from S3 bucket, or it's going to talk to something else. So there also you can assign a role, right, to the EC2 instance, so that your EC2 instance will be able to perform actions on your behalf of that particular role. Okay, on whatever permissions that has been given to the EC2 instance. Like your EC2 instance needs to talk to a S3 bucket, and it needs to talk to DynamoDB table as well. Okay, again, DynamoDB is a database service that it's a NoSQL database that AWS offers, highly scalable for massive scale. So you can use your EC2 instance to talk to your S3 bucket or DynamoDB, where you don't have to deploy, you don't have to put, because it will make an API call, right? At the end of the day, your EC2 instance also has to make an API call to S3 bucket or DynamoDB table, correct? So in such cases, you don't have to give your username password within your application, which can be misused. Rather, you create a role and then you associate that role with the EC2 instance, so that your EC2 instance will be able to perform the actions on your behalf. Okay. Okay, so what are roles? Roles are set of permissions granted to a trusted entity. It is assumed by IAM users or applications or AWS services like EC2. Okay, because at the end of the day, you need to authenticate every API call that you do, correct? That is the fundamental. Every API call that you do, you have to authenticate. So now either you authenticate using your username and password, or you create a IAM special type of user called IAM user and use that username password, or you create a role called IAM role. You grant access to that role, and then you assign that role to an IAM user or an application or AWS services like EC2. Okay. Okay. So now you have again let's take an analogy out here, right? It's basically if you take your root ID, root account, right? Your root account is, as I said, it gives the key to the kingdom. Okay, you're basically allowing everything. You're just letting open, the entire gates to your kingdom, so that anybody can come and go, and anybody can misuse or use or do whatever they want. Okay, that's the root account. Okay, then IAM users. IAM user is like your employee ID badge, right? I mean, when you join an organization, you'll be given a badge, an employee ID. And if you have to access the office premises, you have to swipe that badge, right? Access control device will be there, biometric system would be there. And then you would have to swipe your badge and then enter the office premises, right? So it's like that. So where you, within an office premises, not everybody will be allowed to go everywhere, right? There'll be certain restricted areas like server rooms, data centers, or probably highly secure area where classified data is being stored, or files are there, file rooms are there, right? So such cases, you can't enter those areas, right? So that way, you are basically restricting access to certain area in the office premises, and you're allowing access to other areas, right? So that way, IAM users are specific to it. It gives access to specific services. It gives access to console and or APIs, and credentials can be revoked and invalidated anytime, right? As I said, my 3 developers are misusing my EC2 AWS services, right? I can immediately revoke access to perform a specific function. I'll prevent them from provisioning EC2 instances. Okay, it's like an employee ID or a badge. Then you also get a temporary security credentials as part of your IAM rules. It's called STS. Again, that's like a hotel key, right? When you check into a hotel, at the reception, you're you've booked for, like, say, stay for 2 days, right? And the reception is going to give you a key card. So what the reception would do is they would give access, enable access to that only for 2 days. Beyond that, it's not going to work. It's like a temporary thing. Okay, so now how do you represent the permissions in AWS, right? That's basically, this is how it's a JSON, right? Where you start a curly braces, then you have a key value, some version, just give some version here. You can mention your version name, and then give a statement. Statement is very, very important. And then within the statement, you put uh, square braces, and again curly, because this is an array. And then again you put curly, where you are basically giving more values to it. So then you give effect is allow or deny, right? Effect is allow or deny. Action is S3 list bucket. Resources star means everything. Okay, don't worry too much about this. I mean, at this point in time, you may not completely get a sense of it until you perform some operations with this. But for now, understand that this is how you create a permission policy within IAM, okay, to authorize certain role or certain user to perform certain functions within AWS, right? So that's like this one, the IAM users, right? It's not the root. Root has everything. Okay, root would have effect allow, action star, resource star. That is like roots, okay, which is like, as I said, that's has the power of invincibility. Root account has got the power of invincibility. You can do whatever you want with root. Okay, so that's what you do. So now what I'm going to do is, let me just come back, and I'm going to go to the console. We'll cover some of those later, but I'm just going to go to the console. I'm just going to stop the screen share, bring up my console. We'll try and wrap up this by another 10 minutes, and then we'll get started with the second part of the agenda, today's agenda. Okay, in the meantime, what I want all of you to do parallelly is log into your account using your root. Okay, for those who don't have the root, right? I mean, wherever we gave you the username password, you guys can log in with your own IAM user and password. But for those of you who created accounts on your own, log in as your root. Okay, I want all of you to log in as your root. Right now, we are going to enable multi-factor authentication within your AWS account. I'm just logging in as my root account. So give me a second. So let me repeat, all of you just log into your AWS console using your root credentials. Okay. Okay, I'm just logged in. I'm going to share my screen back. Yeah, I'm actually logged in as my root account. Okay, using the root credentials into my root. Okay, so out here on the right side, if you actually go here, you will see your name coming there, and then you will see your account, my organization, service quotas, billing dashboard, security credentials. I want you to click on my security credentials on the right side. Out here, all of you just follow this, and you can do this parallelly. On the top right side, you have your name. Click that, and then you will see my security credentials. Okay, are you all able to get to that page? My security credentials. Okay, my security credentials. Okay, once you are there, then you'll be able to see. You'll from here you'll be able to basically change your password, name, or email address for your root account. So then you have MFA multi-factor authentication. You have access keys. Then you have few other things. Just ignore those for now. For now, we will expand multi-factor authentication. Okay, so just how many of you were able to get to this? Raise your hands. Okay, it looks like most of you are able to get to that. Okay, so you can lower your hands. Okay, so now I want you to click on activate MFA, and in the meantime, install the Google Authenticator on your mobile devices from your App Store. Okay, so just install Google Authenticator. Okay, how many of you have installed Google Authenticators? Okay. Okay. All right. So click on Activate MFA. Okay. In Activate MFA, you get three types of multi-factor authentication. One is a virtual MFA, where you're using an authenticator application to which is there in your mobile device or computer. Okay, you're using such as Google Authenticator to authenticate and give a multi-factor authentication, or you can use a U2F security key, which is basically like a UB key. Okay, something like that, or you can use a other hardware MFA device where you get a small token which has a digital display in it, and that display keeps changing. It generates a random number, and that random number keeps changing every minute or so. Okay, because there's a random seed generator that keeps generating those numbers, and you have to use that number as an additional layer of security. That's called multi-factor authentication, right? So where like OTP, you have OTP, right? When you log into certain websites, you give your username, password, plus you also get a OTP. OTP is also form of a MFA. Okay, so now here, just select the virtual MFA, which is the authenticator app, and click on continue. Okay, and then once you click on continue, you will actually see this one, right? You will actually see this. So now, what you need to do is once you get this page, you have to click on show QR code, but I'm not going to do right now because I cannot show my QR code to everybody. It's quite secure. Okay, so now, but you all click on your show QR code. Okay, once you click on show QR code, okay, it's going to generate a QR code, and you have to go to your authenticator application, right? You all have your authenticator application installed on your mobile device, right? You can log into your authenticator application using your Google accounts, and then on the top you see a plus button in the authenticator application. You click that plus button, then it will ask you for scan a barcode or manual entry, right? Then you click on scan barcode. It will allow access to your camera, and then using your phone camera, you scan that QR code. Okay, once you scan the QR code, it will immediately pop up on your mobile device. It will pop up a number, which it's a 6-digit number, which keeps changing every minute or so. Okay, and then you have to enter two consecutive MFA codes. That's called an MFA code. You have to enter two consecutive codes that you're getting on your mobile device, on your mobile screen twice. Okay, you have to enter it here. First one, wait for 1 minute, wait for the code to generate, wait for the MFA to generate a new code, then enter the second code, and then say assign MFA. Okay, very simple. Login, just follow the steps. Then you're done. Okay, I'm going to stop share, and I'm going to do it now. Okay, I got the first one. I'm waiting for the second one to be generated. Okay, for those who got accounts from us, please wait. You can also do the same thing, but not for your root account because you don't have root credentials. You can do the same for your IAM users. I'll show you. Maybe you have to wait for some time. Okay, once you say that, then it will say that you'll get a successful message. You have successfully assigned virtual MFA. Virtual MFA will be required during sign-in. Okay, so now I'll share my screen back. Okay, so you will see something like this. Your virtual MFA device is done, right? Then you will basically get a thing like this, and this is the ARN. If you see, this is the ARN for your virtual MFA device. Okay, and if you want, you can delete it also. You can click on this manage and delete it. But why would you do that? I mean, you want to make your AWS account more secure, correct? So now, how does it help? Now let me just sign out and sign in back. I'm just going to sign out. Okay, I'm going to sign in back using my root user. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to sign in. Okay, and then I'm just going to give my password. Okay, then I'm going to hit on sign in. See, once I hit on sign in, it waits for me to give the multi-factor authentication MFA code. Okay, so now you have to open your Google Authenticator app once again, and you have to enter the code which you are seeing on your mobile device at that point in time. Okay, because it keeps changing, right? So enter that code, whatever you see at that point in time. So only these two combination would work. Okay, your username password plus MFA. It's AND condition. It's not OR condition. It's an AND condition. Okay, so then you're able to log into your AWS account. Very simple. Okay, so how many of you were able to do this successfully? I'm going to give it maybe 3 more minutes. Okay, for you all to complete this. I want to see as many hands raised. Okay, just keep your hands raised. Don't lower them. Very simple. You're just protecting your account. Okay, again, this is for those who have who have created your account using your email ID and passwords and your credit cards. For those who receive the accounts from us, please wait. There are different set of steps. We'll tell you sometime later. You don't have to worry about it right now. I'm only telling you how to protect your root user. Yeah.
Sir, it's keep on changing the number. This Google Authenticator.
That's okay.
Can we? It's okay. Okay.
Yeah. That's how it's designed to work, no? It will keep on changing. So you have to give whatever number that you see on the screen right now. Give that number. Give the current number.
Yeah, I'm done with that. Is there anything to stop that after that? After doing this?
No. You can't stop. No. You can't stop it. That's the way multi-factor authentication works. It's
Okay.
a random number generator.
Okay.
It keeps changing.
Okay.
So next time when you have to log in, when the session gets timed out, when you have to again log in, you have to give your username password and go to your authenticator screen, whatever number that you see, then what is the purpose of having a multi-factor authentication? If you have a standard number all the time, and for example, you may give that number to one of your friend or any of you, or you can give it to someone. Okay, now if that number doesn't change, then you're like giving access to everybody, right? It's like you're sharing your username and password. But if that number keeps changing, nobody will be able to log into that without your knowledge. That is the whole idea.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, one number is come to screen, sir. Where I entered that number, sir.
Which screen you're in currently?
Yes, sir. In mobile, sir. I mean, one code is coming.
You're on mobile, right? You have to enter. You have to type that number, whatever you're seeing in a mobile screen, on the login page.
Yes,
on the AWS login.
You mean root user or IAM user, sir?
Root user, not IAM. I'm only talking about root currently. where you are using your email ID.
Okay, sir. That number is need to enter in, I mean, root user.
Correct. Once you give your root user username and password, then it will wait for you to enter the
But
number.
not my mail ID.
No, your email ID only. It is your email ID only. When you use your email ID and password to log into AWS, you need to enable the
Okay,
multi-factor
sir.
authentication. Have you completed the first step? Sorry, who's this?
Z069, sir.
Z069. Have you completed the first step, which I showed you here?
Yes, sir.
You go
But
here and my security
one code
credentials.
is showing like that, sir.
Yeah, that's okay. So once you go here and once you enable, have you done this part that you're seeing
Yes,
on my
sir.
screen? You have this. So now you
Complete.
sign
Yes,
out.
sir. Completed, sir.
Sign out. Now you
Okay,
sign
sir.
out. Just follow my steps. Sign out. Have you signed out? Z069, have you signed out?
Yes, sir. Signed out, sir.
Okay, then again sign in. Click on AWS Management Console or sign into AWS Console. Okay, here give your root user. Okay, select the root user, give your email address, and then give your password.
Okay, sir.
Okay, once you give the password and click on sign in. Once you click on sign in, just let me know.
Sir, is it like RSA
Sorry,
token?
sorry, 1 second, Z092. Let me just address the other person
Sir,
and
I
then I'll
click
come
on
to you.
sign in, sir.
Yeah, click on sign in. Now, are you getting a box which says I enter the MFA code?
No, sir. I can't get, sir.
What is happening when you click on sign in?
It's directly go to account, sir.
Then you have not enabled MFA. You follow the steps that I gave you previously. It should work. You have not enabled MFA
But
for your.
yes, sir. But in mobile phone, code is keep changing like 1 minute after that, sir.
Okay, do one thing. Close the browser and close your browser and then come back. Maybe it's taking it from the cached credentials. It's taking it from the cache. So you sign out, close the browser,
Okay, sir.
and then again come back. Close all the browsers and come back. Okay. Yeah, Z092, please go ahead.
Sir, is it like RSA token?
Something like that. Yes, correct.
Okay, sir.
It's a token only at the end of the day. It's like an RSA token. Yeah, you're right.
Sir, until we deactivate the MFA, it will keep on generating the code.
Yeah. It'll keep on generating the code. Whenever you want to log in, you take that current code, what you are seeing on the screen at that point in time, and use that code. In fact, I can show you an MFA token sometime. 1 second. Let me just see if I have one. I used to have one. I'm not sure if it is still there.
Sir,
Yeah.
I get the authentication failed error, sir.
It means that either your password is wrong or your MFA token is wrong. Just
Both
validate both.
are entered correctly, sir. But both are correctly entered, but it's showing like that. I tried many times.
No. Definitely one is wrong. Otherwise it won't give. It works. It works 200% fine. You have entered something as wrong. Just check, recheck your password.
Okay, sir.
Okay, just recheck your password and enter it carefully. Okay, enter your password, email ID, and the MFA token carefully. It should work.
Okay.
It's not that AWS will not. Who's this? Sorry, Z0?
32.
32, yeah. So it's not that AWS will prevent access only to Z032, right?
Yeah.
So see, whenever you have authentication issues, it is from user's side. Always remember that. It's easy to say that it's not working, but you have to look at what mistake you have made. That is the most important thing. Okay, you have to really look at what mistake you have made and you have to fix that, rectify that mistake, then it will work.
Okay.
Okay, but if you still have issues, we'll fix it. Okay, I mean, if maybe you've not entered it properly, just try it out once again. Give the proper username, your password, because we have only added one more additional step for MFA. That's it. And MFA is a
Yeah.
very, very powerful feature to protect your account. Okay, all right. So how many people were able to complete it? Please keep your hands raised. Or those who have not raised your hands, please raise your hands. Yeah, some more. Please raise your hands. Okay, I still see A01, A04, A06, A11, A25, A30, A34, A36, A39, A42, A47, A49, A50, Z040, Z077, Z014, Z028, Z032, Z064, Z069, Z090, Z107, Z110, A29, Z065. So these many people are yet to. Yeah, so Z003, yes, you should not delete the app. You have to keep the authenticator app. See, the authenticator app is like your second key.
Hello?
Yeah, so
Hello,
it's like
sir.
your second key. You have to use your second key. 1 second. So you have to use your second key. You have to keep your second key all the times with you. You should not delete the app. Okay, you should not delete your authenticator app, or you should not delete that particular thing, registration that you did on authenticator. Just close the app. Once you are done with sign in, close the app on your mobile. Don't delete the app or don't delete that key. It will keep on generating. That's okay. It's going to keep on generating new number in the backend. So next time, tomorrow, when you again log into your AWS account, you give your username, password, go to your, open your authenticator app, look up the number which is being displayed at that point in time, say tomorrow, and enter that number. So then it will allow you to log in. But you should not delete your app. You should not delete it. You don't have to do anything. It's like a second key that you have created. In bank account, if you go to bank locker, you get two keys, right? One key belongs to you, one key belongs to the bank, and both the keys have to be put to open the locker, right? It's like that. Yeah.
Sir, if unexpectedly if the app is deleted, there any solution for that to log in to AWS?
No, you can't log in. You have to call the support. Okay, you have
Okay,
to
sir.
call the AWS support using
Okay,
your registered mobile number or
okay,
yeah,
sir.
or your email ID, right? And then you have to you have to tell them. They'll get onto a call with you, and then the support will delete the MFA behind the scenes from the backend. Once they delete it, then you'll be able to log in just with your username. Okay, without MFA, you'll be able to log in just with your username. So then you again reassociate your MFA with your account.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Z003. See, You're asking the app is generating codes continuously. Should I delete the app? I think I responded to that. You don't have to delete the app, but it should generate only when we log in. Why do you think so? It should generate only when you log in.
Sir, actually, if we use any OTP, I mean, if you are doing sections only, then we'll have the OTP. No, sir. So
No, so see it's not like OTP. OTP is a different thing. Conceptually, you're using OTP also for MFA, but this also you're using it for MFA. But here, the concept is every minute the code changes, and you're going to use the code only when you need it. It will keep on changing behind the scenes. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to get bothered by that, right? It will keep on changing behind the scenes, and you're only going to use the code that you're seeing at that point in time to log in. See, the algorithm behind the scenes, it's a very beautiful algorithm which goes behind the scenes. I think all of you guys will have to read about that algorithm which it uses. Any multi-factor authentication or any random key, right? I mean, like your RSA key or a token that is available. It's a very beautiful thing where it basically takes a random. Now, how does AWS know that the random code that your authenticator generates is a valid code or not? Correct. AWS also has got a mechanism, and this algorithm that it uses, where it takes all of you would have done using in C++, you would have used random, right? Random function, right? Most of you would have done that, right? Now in random function, you give a seed to the random code generator, correct? The random number generator. So that seed is basically a seed, which is generated when it's like a handshake process, right? So when you scan that QR code belongs to you only, right? It's a very unique QR code, which only belongs to you. That is basically a combination of multiple things like your account number or whatever it is. Even I'm not sure. That's maintained secret. So it could be a combination of your account number or your email ID, things like that, right? So now using that QR code, when Google Authenticator scans that, it basically captures that. For that, it generates a random seed, and that random seed will keep on generating random numbers throughout the lifetime of the app. Whenever you need to log in, you open your mobile device, because your mobile device is going to be with you, right? And you're going to have a authentication for your mobile device, such as your biometric or face recognition or passcode or the pattern that you have in Android, correct? So now when you want to log in, nobody can access your mobile device without your authentication, correct? So now when you have to log into the AWS console, you first log in using your username and password. Then you go to your mobile device, authenticate in your mobile device. Then you go to Authenticator app. Then you see the current code which is there at that point in time, which is basically the second key to enter your AWS account. So now when you enter that, what AWS does is it does a match with the algorithm at that point in time. Whatever code got generated, it basically uses the algorithm to match it, whether that key, that number which is given, that 6-digit number which is given, is in fact a legitimate or a valid number or not. So once it is a valid number based on the algorithm, when the algorithm matches it, then it allows you to enter. You can enter any number that you can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and keep trying. It will never, AWS will never allow you to log in. You have to give that number which is being generated on the screen. Only then, AWS will allow you to log in. And that number keeps changing every 1 minute. So that way, nobody can misuse that. If you imagine, if you have a constant number, right? Like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is the number you have. That's the pin that you have, like your ATM pin, right? Imagine even going to ATM, right? I mean, you have all of us have standard ATM pins, right? 4-digit ATM pins. Now imagine when banks would want to make it a lot more secure, they give you an app, something like this, right? Where that pin number keeps changing every 1 minute. And then when you go to ATM, you insert your ATM card, and then you open your mobile device, and then whatever number that gets generated at that point in time, you enter that mobile at that point in time in the ATM. So what the ATM would be doing is it would actually reach out to their servers to authenticate against you against this particular number. That could also come in the future, okay? Instead of using a standard pin, constant pin. In this case, it's not a constant pin, it's a variable pin. The pin keeps changing. Okay, and when the pin keeps changing, it is even more secure, right? Because nobody can guess the pin, number one, and nobody can basically forge your pin, or nobody can basically steal your pin and then use it to log into your account, correct? So that way it's
Hello,
more
sir.
secure. Yeah.
Sir, I'm Z069, sir. Sir, after I scan the QR code, below type 2 consecutive FSA codes below, sir. MFA code 1
Yeah.
and 2.
Correct.
At that place,
So
where
whatever,
what is the sir?
so the code that you see in Google Authenticator, right? That 6-digit number.
Yes, sir.
Enter that number in the first text box. And wait
Next
for
text
one
box,
more
sir.
minute. No, wait for
Okay,
one
sir.
more minute. Yeah. No, first hear me out, Z069.
Okay.
You see two text boxes. First, wait for the first number to be generated. Enter it in the first text box. Then wait for the number to change in your mobile. The number will change in your mobile device, correct? You will get a second number. Take
Yes,
that
sir.
number and enter it in the second text box. Okay.
Okay, sir.
These are two consecutive numbers, right? So then once you enter both the numbers, so then you say assign the MFA, it'll authenticate, it'll work. So that has to be two distinct numbers, basically. You understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Once you are done, just let me know. It's very simple. Wait for 1 minute for the number to change. Take the second number which is generated on the screen, enter that number, and then add it. It should work. Z003, are you okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand
Thank you.
why numbers keep changing, and what is the rationale behind the numbers keep the changing numbers?
Yeah, yes, sir. Got it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Sir, I
because
entered both the numbers, sir.
okay. Now say assign
And
MFA.
assign.
Yeah.
Sir, I click it, sir.
Clicked. What do you see on the screen?
You are successfully assigned like that, sir.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Now I need to sign out from my device, sir. I mean,
you sign out from AWS console.
And sir, someone asked the question like if our Google authentication QR code, if that app delete. So in that security, we have a manage, right? We can manage the actions in security credentials to remove the
No, but
MFA.
yeah, you can. Yeah, if you're logged in, you can remove it. If you're logged in, you can, is my screen visible? If you're logged in, and while you're logged into the AWS account, while you're using your AWS account, in case if your mobile device is lost, or your app crashes, or your app is deleted, you can just go here and click on this manage and say remove. Just remove it.
Yes.
Okay. Or you can also do a resync. You can reinstall the app, the authenticator app, and you can do a resync. It'll again bring it back. Okay. But if you want to remove, you can remove it. But what if I signed out? Okay, maybe after 2 days or 3 days, when I want to log in, I just go click on login. So that point in time, I don't even have the MFA with me, right? In such cases, it'll ask me to. I'm just logging in. Okay. .com. Once you click on sign in, so at this point, I don't have my MFA token with me. So without putting the MFA token, I won't be able to log in, correct? So this is when you have to click on troubleshoot MFA. Okay, and then you can try with either of this. You can try to resync. Okay, or if you're still not able to do it, what you can do is you can send an email from your registered email ID to support@amazon.com. Or wait, what is the email ID? Support email ID. You can just Google for it. AWS support email ID. Yeah, if you can just go to contact us, no? In the contact us, technical support. Or you can just call, or you can call them actually. You'll find the number. I'll tell you where to go for that number. But from there, you can just call AWS and you can basically talk to the support, and they'll be able to help you with. They'll first try to understand your authenticity by asking for your email ID and things like that, or few other details just to authenticate whether you are the one who's calling. Once you give them the details, so then they'll be able to help you delete it. They can delete it from the back end.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay, so let's wait for our friend to come back. Z069, right?
Yes, sir.
Are you done?
Sir, yes, sir, completed, sir. After I
You're
entered
able to
the
log in?
key, yes, sir.
You're able to log in, right? Okay, very good. Excellent. Okay, anyone else? Any questions? Maybe I'll spend 2 more minutes before we jump to the next part of the agenda.
So I have a small question, sir.
So sure. Who's this?
Z077, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, can we use this Google Authenticator for other servers also, other things also?
Can you qualify
Only
what
for
other
AWS.
things mean?
Bank applications, sir. Like.
Yeah, if it supports, you can use it. If it is
Okay,
integrated with Google Authenticator, you can use it. In fact, you can
Okay,
use
sir.
your Google Authenticator for even Google also, right? For you to log into your Gmail account, no, you can use Google Authenticator.
Yes, sir. That's it, sir.
Yeah. See, Google Authenticator is just a generic virtual MFA. Okay, you can use it for anything. If it supports, you can use it. So I'll put it this way: tomorrow you're building an application. Okay, sorry, who's this again? Z0?
Z077, sir.
77, yeah. So Z077, you are actually building an e-commerce website tomorrow. Okay, and in your website, you want users to have a multi-factor authentication. Okay, using Google's Authenticator. You can also build this logic within your website, and you can allow your end users to have an additional layer of security for their login. Instead of their username password, it will be username plus password plus MFA. You can also integrate it in the future for your applications that you're building. That is also possible. So a lot of you are aspiring entrepreneurs, right? So all of you should know, how to implement, how to build products in a very secure way, and how to give those features so that your end users can actually opt for going with a multi-factor authentication. Read about the multi-factor authentication. There's a lot of content available on the internet. Okay, read about what are the common ways of achieving multi-factor authentication. OTP is one way. Okay, such token-based authentication is another way.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, all right. So let's kind of take a pause here, right? And then we'll continue with the IAM tomorrow. Okay, because IAM is a vast subject, right? And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually show you something. Okay, before I kind of bring that up, right? I just want to show you the the second agenda for today was to basically, a lot of people were keen to understand, what sort of job opportunities that you may get on AWS if you learn AWS. What sort of jobs that you can end up with, right? And how do you basically go from there, right? How do you basically continue from there? Okay. So now let me just talk about my experience and the general trend of what I'm seeing in the market and what I'm seeing in the industry. Okay, so now once you learn AWS, right? I mean, I'll again go back to the day one when we had the first induction, correct? When we had the first induction on the day of induction, I'm actually going to bring that slide up. Just give me a second. going to go to one specific area where I spoke about, how the IT jobs are changing in the industry today, right? Because you don't have any more jobs, that that they are hiring you just for mundane execution of a set of tasks, correct? Where just for data entry or just for administration of 10 servers, administration of 50 servers, where you daily come in the morning, log into those servers, you will have a checklist with you, right? And then you keep putting tick marks on the checklist, and then you go to the server and you perform those activities in a scripted fashion, right? So they're not going to hire you for those, right? And they're not, and those jobs are gone by the way, right? So those jobs are no longer there in the industry, right? So where people are just coming in the morning and continuing these activities for months together, for years together, right? I mean, those things are gone because automation has taken, and automation, AI, ML has actually taken a primary position with replacing such jobs with bots, with robots which can do that, right? Because robots also, if you teach a robot or a bot has to log into the server, go perform the so and so activities based on the input output, just put a tick mark to the checklist. Robots can do that, right? So that's where, if you see what the top business leaders think is, maximum is reskilling of their employees is the topmost priority, where they want to basically reskill and retrain their employees on, if it is on the IT, if it is on the tech sector, they want to reskill and retrain their employees on learning cloud, number one, learning AI, ML, right? How to basically build applications that have intelligence embedded in it using artificial intelligence and machine learning, right? They want to train their employees on analytics, right? How to generate analytics, how to, given a raw data set, how do you consume that raw data set and build a bunch of analytics on top of it? Okay, so now that's where, if you see, addressing the skill gaps is the topmost priority for a lot of enterprises and a lot of business leaders, right? So this is very important. So what sort of opportunities you get in the industry, right? So now, if you see, almost every business or every enterprise or every company that you see out there, right? They have IT needs. Every company has got IT needs, correct? Because there's no company as of now, who is not using IT in some form or the other, correct? You take even a small business, maybe who's a small wholesale seller of some food products, right? It's not too big and it's not too small. It's a medium size. It's a wholesale seller of food products. Even he would need some sort of a system or some sort of a IT support to, store his data, right, and store his daily inventory of goods that he has, right, and how much is being sold, and to maintain invoices and to generate invoices, right? He would use probably a tally, or he would use some sort of a cloud-based tally or cloud-based accounting software, cloud-based CRM software, correct? So now there's no business, which is which does not exist without without being supported by IT. So almost every enterprise and every other company that you see, wants to use IT. But now, what is the most efficient and cheapest way of using IT is to go with cloud, because all of you have experienced it, right? Last 3 weeks, what you have done is you were able to spin up resources on AWS within a matter of few seconds or few minutes, right? And you were able to actually build a website. Yesterday, you all did the assignment, right? So where you installed web server on your EC2 instance, and you were able to build a hello RPL Champs website in a matter of about half an hour, correct? So now, from that perspective, cloud adoption is the topmost priority for every other organization that you see, right? To improve the agility And also the COVID-19 pandemic has increased the cloud adoption opportunities for enterprises, right? That's where if you see all the cloud platforms and the global cloud platforms are actually racing to basically capture the first position. Okay, right now if you see the first position is held by Amazon, AWS from a market share perspective, but every other cloud organization, every other cloud service provider is aspiring to actually reach that first position because of this opportunity that is there in the market, right? And also, businesses would need to focus on their core business logic rather than maintaining the infrastructure, managing the infrastructure, patching, right, and managing the monitoring and things like that, right? But they don't want to do all of that. Okay, so now this is what it is, right? I mean, this is where the opportunity is like. But now, how do you hunt for those opportunities? Okay. Step one, what I would suggest you is, what are the portals where you have registered? What are the job portals where you have registered? Just name a few.
LinkedIn, Naukri.
LinkedIn, Naukri. Excellent. In fact, I wanted to hear LinkedIn as the first. Thanks, Z003. Yeah.
Firstnaukri.com.
Indeed.
Shine.
Okay, good. Very nice. So now what you all have to do is first create an account in LinkedIn. Okay, how many of you have LinkedIn accounts?
Sir, I'm having.
I have an account.
Okay, so many of you have LinkedIn accounts. Okay, can one of you log into your LinkedIn account and show me your profile?